Hi guys, welcome back to Marathon-Crossfit here, and today we're going to talk about German volume training versus Stronglifts 5x5. Okay, so these are two programs that are highly debated. I've done them both. I've done Stronglifts for 10 months and I have a review written about that in the description box below. And I also did German volume training, which I did for a month. You also find a review in the description box below, but you also find videos of me actually doing German volume training here on my Marathon-Crossfit channel. So that's for the intro, and now let's dive into the details of the whole comparison. So now before we go into the comparison between the two programs, I would like to talk about goals, because I think that is also important and often overlooked in how to pick programs. You know, if you want to be everything at every time and get to these all of these goals at the same time, that is not really how things go. So what do I mean by that? I actually did a bit of research on my blog and asked people, okay, why are you doing Stronglifts 5x5? Mainly because you want to get muscle, mainly because you want to get strong, or I want to do both equally at the same time. Now, the question I got most is I want to do both equally. Now, if that is your main goal, to get strong and more muscle at the same time, Stronglifts 5x5 is actually a pretty good fit. Still though, always remember that you are, as a human being, have limited resources. So you have to prioritize your goals. If you don't prioritize your goals of gaining muscle, getting stronger, getting ripped, and what of the three is actually the most important to you, you can't really decide on a program, because all of these programs have certain strengths and weaknesses. And if you want to do everything at the same time to the same degree, you won't be able to prioritize your goals, and therefore also won't be able to pick the program that is the best fit for you. Now, as your time is limited and as your resources are limited, you will have to prioritize in some way, unless you are able to train for 6 hours a day, which most people of us don't. So please, before you do some kind of an analysis between Stronglifts 5x5 over German volume training or the other way around, please get your goals straight, because otherwise the whole exercise of comparing programs is really pointless. Now, what is Stronglifts 5x5? So Stronglifts 5x5 is a cookie cutter program, which means it has been designed for the masses and has no real adaptation for individuals. And it was designed by Medi. Now, it was just basically a reskinning of the program, because the rep scheme itself already existed before Medi made it a bit more popular. Still though, he managed to do so, and you can see on his own website what the program is all about. So I really recommend to go to the Stronglifts 5x5 website itself, or have a thorough read of my 10 months review of the program itself. Now, it's most suited for people who have never worked with a barbell before, who can conveniently move around 20 kilograms, because that is the way of the barbell itself, and who want to progress into weightlifting and get strong and also develop muscle at the same time. Now, why is that? Because sets of 5 are actually quite well situated somewhere in the middle of the spectrum, in correspondence with the Prelipin table, somewhere in the middle of the spectrum between strength gains and muscle gains. Strength gains are usually a bit better at a bit lower of a repetition range, somewhere between 1 to 3, whereas muscle gains seem to be more popular and more pronounced, somewhere in the repetition range per set of 8 to 12 repetitions. So therefore, Stronglifts with 5x5 repetitions is neatly placed in the middle. It is also very popular and has a lot of references out here on the internet. So, you know, its success is proven for what it does, which is developing strength and muscle at the same time for beginners. So next in line is German volume training. Now, what is German volume training? German volume training is a rep scheme that lets you do 10 sets by 10 repetitions at 50 to 60% of your 1 repetition maximum. So this program is more suited for muscle gains rather than strength gains. It's all about pump it up, pumping it up, getting really big chest, big legs. Also, as a difference to Stronglifts 5x5, it is not limited to the compounded lifts, which means the squat, the deadlift, and the bench press. It also can be done with machines. So all in all, it is more suited for the purposes of bodybuilding than Stronglifts 5x5. Now, I personally wouldn't consider it a beginner's program. I would actually consider it as an intermediate program. Now, why is that? Because when I did German volume training after doing Stronglifts 5x5, I found it really challenging itself. And I actually also had to deload. I started with 60% of my 1 repetition maximum going into the program, and then I had to go down to 50%. So I personally don't think that this is really something for beginners, because also you're doing 100 repetitions a day, when you're doing this, and therefore you should ensure that you already know how to do the exercises properly, because otherwise you're ingraining wrong form, and that just doesn't help you really. So after talking about Stronglifts 5x5 and about German volume training and about goals, now let's tie all of that together and see that there is actually not really a debate to be had between what is the better program, German volume training or Stronglifts 5x5, because if you really get your priorities straight, it is just a matter of picking the right program for your goals, rather than saying, okay, 5x5 is better and German volume training is shite. And, it's just pointless, because if you are a beginner and if your goal is actually to gain muscle and gain strength at the same time, I think there are 2 programs out there that are highly debated and that are done by a lot of people, which are Stronglifts 5x5 and Starting Strength by Mark Rippetoe. So there is no real debate to be had if you have that goal set for German volume training. Right? Now, if your main goal is to bulk up and look as poofy as possible or as ripped as possible, to give a positive spin on it, well, then go for German volume training. However, really make sure that you know how to exercise correctly. Know that you already have ensured that you know how to do the exercises in a machine or with a barbell correctly, because otherwise it will just be so hard to train these bad habits out of you if you've done German volume training for a year, because you just ramped up so many repetitions and you did the wrong movement pattern so often that it's just very hard to train it out. So maybe if you're looking at this as a beginner, consider to do Stronglifts 5x5 first, if you are leaning towards doing compound lifts anyway, and working with the barbell, before considering doing German volume training, because then also you have a bit of a bigger frame to put all of the load on to then really build up upon, But I mean, choice is yours in the end. But German volume training, I think, for more experienced lifters who want to bulk up heavy, and Stronglifts 5x5 for beginners who kind of want an all-around package.